And the night my first son was born, I looked at him and I whispered, I am sorry.
Not congratulations. Not welcome. Sorry. Because in our family, being born was not an arrival. It was an inheritance into a curse.
But what if the thing you inherited didn't have to follow you forever? What if one woman's radical, inconvenient, embarrassing faith could break what 5 generations of hard work could not? Stay with me, because this story begins in a compound house in Nima, Accra, and it might end somewhere very close to where you are sitting right now. Before I tell you Kofi's story, I need to ask you something you may not want to answer. Think about your family. Not the Sunday best version. Not the one you post on Instagram at Christmas. The real one. The one with the silences at the dinner table. The one with the things nobody talks about. Is there a pattern?
Poverty that returns no matter who tries to escape it. Marriages that collapse the same way, generation after generation. Sickness that visits the same bloodline. Fathers who are there physically, but absent in every way that matters. Dreams that get close, but never arrive. In Ghana, we have a saying, Obra Tete, the old life persists. We say it like it is weather, like there is nothing to be done. We call it family luck, or no luck, or just the way things are. But nobody asks the hardest question. Who gave this pattern permission to continue? Kofi Mensah's family had been poor in Accra for 4 generations. Not struggling, poor. The kind of poor that doesn't announce itself loudly. It just quietly closes every door before you reach it. And then, one night, everything shifted. Not because circumstances changed, but because one woman refused to agree with the pattern any longer. Kofi Mensah grew up in Nima, in a compound house that held his grandmother, his parents, 2 aunties, and 7 children, all sharing one outdoor kitchen and one leaking roof. His grandfather had been a fisherman who lost his boat to a debt. His father, Emmanuel, was a car mechanic who rented his tools because he could never save enough to own them. Kofi was 15, top of his class at Nima Senior High, and had just been told there was no money for his WASE registration fees. 40 Ghana cedis. The family did not have it. He didn't go inside when he got home that evening. He just sat on the compound step, still in his uniform, his school bag between his feet, and stared at the dust in the yard, the way you stare at something when you've already made a decision and you're waiting for the courage to say it out loud. His mother, Madina, came and sat beside him. Not asking, not rushing, just sat. And after a long silence, Kofi told her he wasn't going back to school. He didn't shout it, he didn't cry it. He said it the way 15-year-old boys say things when all the fight has already left them. What is the point, Mama? Not even a question anymore, a conclusion. And Abena didn't argue with him. She didn't quote scripture or raise her voice or tell him to be grateful. She just looked at him, the way mothers look at their children when they see something the child cannot yet see in himself. And she said, "You are not your father. and your father is not his father. Every generation has a chance to be the one that turns the tide. Kofi heard her, but hearing a thing and believing it are two different countries. And that evening, he was living very far from belief. He asked her, with what? With prayer? Because they had been praying in this family since before he was born, since before his father was born. And still, this compound. Still, that eviction letter. Still, 40 CDs he did not have for an exam that could change his life. What had prayer done?
Abena was quiet for a moment, and when she spoke, she said something that would take Kofi years to fully understand. She told him that his grandfather had prayed for survival, just to make it through, just to see the next morning. And his father, Emmanuel, prayed for relief, for the weight to be lifted, even briefly, for a small mercy in a hard season. But me, she said, I am praying for something different. Kofi looked at her then, really looked at her. This woman who woke before dawn to sell wache at a table on the junction, whose hands were rough from years of work, who had less reason than anyone to believe things could change. He asked her what she was praying for, and she turned and looked at him. Not at the compound, not at the dust, not at the sky, directly at him, at his face, at his future. For the pattern to end.
With you, she said.
Kofi said nothing. He picked up his bag, he went inside. But those 4 words followed him. Into the room, onto the mat where he slept, into the years that came after. For the pattern to end. With you. He didn't know it yet, but the sentence had already begun. Abena Mensah was not educated beyond class 6. She sold waki from a table at the Nima junction every morning, starting at 5 a.m., finishing when the food finished. She had rough hands, a loud laugh, and a faith that made her neighbours shake their heads. She had a notebook, blue, torn at the corner, wrapped in a piece of cloth. Inside it, she wrote her prayers. Not vague prayers, specific ones, with dates. Not dates they were answered, dates she decided to believe they already were. Her neighbours in the compound called her Abena Osofo, Abena the preacher, and not always kindly. But Abena did not pray for their approval. She prayed because she had made a decision in her spirit that her children would not carry what she had carried.
3 months after Kofi's conversation with his mother, Emmanuel, his father, lost his spot at the roadside garage. The landlord of the plot had sold it to a developer. No notice, just gone. That night, with the eviction letter on the wooden table, Emmanuel came home and sat in the plastic chair in the corner and said nothing for 2 hours. The children ate. He did not eat. Abena cooked. He did not thank her.
It was past midnight when Emmanuel finally spoke. He had been sitting in that plastic chair in the corner for 2 hours, not sleeping, not eating, just sitting. The way a man sits when the thing he has been carrying has finally become heavier than he can hold standing up. The eviction letter was on the table. He had read it 3 times already. He didn't need to read it again.
Abena was moving quietly around the room, the small, practiced movements of a woman who has learned to fill a space without disturbing it. She had kept the lamp burning. She always kept the lamp burning. And then Emmanuel told her to stop. Not loudly, not with anger, or not only anger, with something worse than anger, with exhaustion. The deep, boneless kind that lives in a man after years of trying and arriving at the same place. Stop the praying, he told her. Stop the notebook. Stop waking at 4 a.m. to talk to a God who was not listening. All of it. Stop. He asked her to look around, to really look, at the walls, at the letter on the table, at the children pretending to be asleep on their mats. Had any of it changed? Had one prayer moved one thing in this house? Your God has been quiet in this family for 40 years, he said. I am tired of watching you hope. The room went still. The children did not move. They lay with their eyes pressed shut, breathing carefully, the way children breathe when they are trying to disappear into the dark so the adults can say what needs to be said. Abena let the silence settle. She did not defend herself. She did not raise her voice. And when she spoke, she said something quietly that cut right through the middle of his exhaustion. He has not been quiet, Emmanuel. We have been too busy grieving to hear him. Emmanuel told her not to bring him church talk, not tonight. Tonight was about money, or the absence of it. Tonight was about a roof they might not have next month. He asked her what her notebook said about that, what prayer she had written for an eviction notice and an empty pot, and 4 children watching their parents come apart at the seams. And instead of answering him with words, Abena reached across the table and picked up the notebook. Her hands were completely steady. She opened it, found the page, and she read him something she had written 14 months earlier, before any of this, before the job was lost, before the letter came. Lord, let the place of loss become the place of turning. Let what breaks us be the last thing that breaks us. She closed the notebook. Emmanuel said nothing.
Kofi heard every word through the thin wall. He told me years later that he lay on that mat and felt something he could not name. It was not faith, not yet. It was something smaller than faith. A crack, a question. The first tiny fracture in his certainty that nothing would ever change. He had watched his mother pray into a darkness that did not answer, and he could not understand why she was still speaking. 4 days later, a man named Mr. Asante came to the compound. Emmanuel had fixed this man's Opel Vectra 2 years before, a favour, no charge, because Mr. Asante had been stranded at the roadside with his sick child and no money. Emmanuel had never expected to see him again.
Emmanuel didn't recognize him at first. It had been 2 years. 2 years since a stranger had broken down on the roadside with a sick child in the back seat and no money in his pocket, and Emmanuel had fixed the car anyway. No charge, no expectation of anything in return. He had forgotten all about it. The man had not. His name was Mr. Asante, and he told Emmanuel he had been looking for him for 3 days. He had heard about the garage, about the lost spot, about the developer and the eviction notice and the season of nothing that had followed. And then he made Emmanuel an offer. He was opening a spare parts shop near Accra Mall. He needed someone he could trust on the floor, someone who knew engines and gearboxes and the particular language of broken things, someone who would not cheat him. He said he had thought of many men, but he kept coming back to the one who had helped him on the roadside without asking for anything.
No capital required, he said. Just Emmanuel's skill. Just his name. Emmanuel stared at him for a long time. Then he asked the only question that made sense to him in that moment. Why now? And Mr. Asante looked at him simply and said, because now is when I found you. Sometimes God's timing looks like bad timing from the outside. Emmanuel had no answer for that. He stood at the gate of a compound he might soon have to leave, listening to a man he had almost forgotten offer him a way forward he had stopped believing was coming. And somewhere behind him, inside the house, Abena's notebook lay open on the table. She had written the date, the day she believed this moment was already done.
That was not the miracle. That was the door. The miracle was what Kofi decided to do with what he had witnessed. Because he was 16 years old and he had just seen something that would dismantle his excuses for the rest of his life. He had seen faith operate inside a darkness that offered no guarantees, and it had moved something immovable.
Kofi's Wase fees were paid by a teacher at his school who had noticed him and quietly asked the headmaster to list him as a scholarship candidate. An application Abena had submitted 8 months earlier and never heard back from. The letter arrived the week Mr. Asante came. Abena had written that date in her notebook too.
Now I want to give you something from Kofi and Abena's story that you can carry beyond this video. Because a story that only moves you emotionally but changes nothing is just entertainment. And this channel was not built for entertainment. 3 things broke the generational pattern in this Accra compound house. 1. Abena refused to repeat the family's inner story. Every Ghanaian family has 2 stories, the one told to visitors and the one believed in the dark. The Mensah family's silent inner story was, we don't get ahead. We survive, but we never arrive. Abena made a private decision to stop narrating that story over her children. She replaced it, not with denial, not with empty positivity, but with written, dated, specific prayer. She created a record of faith that became evidence. Evidence for herself when she doubted. Evidence for her husband when he was broken. Evidence for her son when he needed to believe in something larger than what he could see. What story are you silently agreeing with about your family's future?
2. The miracle came through relationship, not religion. Abena was not praying for public approval. She was not praying for a pastor to validate her. She was in a compound room in Nima, Accra, with a kerosene lamp and a blue notebook, talking with the same directness she used to talk to her own children. That intimacy, unglamorous, private, persistent, is what activated something in that household. Mr. Asante did not come because of a church program. He came because of a favor shown 2 years earlier on a roadside. Faith had been walking ahead of the Mensah family
without their knowledge. Many of us are very visible in church and very distant with God. Abena was the opposite. 3. Kofi had to choose which pattern to carry forward. Seeing his mother's faith did not make Kofi automatically faithful. He was angry first, confused second, watching third. Kofi spent years working through what he had witnessed as a teenager. He had his own failures, his own moments of near defeat. But the seed his mother planted in that dark room had taken root. By the time Kofi was 28, he owned a small logistics company operating between Accra and Kumasi. By 32, his father Emmanuel, now a full partner in Mr. Asante's shop, worked alongside his son on joint business deliveries. By 36, Kofi built his mother a house in Madina, with a proper roof and a guest room she uses to pray for other families in the neighbourhood. And somewhere in Ghana today, there is a woman running a wache table at 5 in the morning, praying over a notebook, asking God to end a pattern in her bloodline. She has not seen the answer yet, but she has written down the date. She believes it is already done. You may be watching this and realizing someone in your family already prayed for you. Don't waste their tears.
If you watched Abena and felt like you knew her, if you heard Kofi's anger and recognized it, if the compound house in Nima looked like a house you have been inside, then this channel was built for you. We tell African stories where faith changes everything. Not easy faith, not performance faith. The real, costly, 4 a.m. kind. Subscribe to Voices of Faith Africa. New episodes every week. Share this video with someone who has been watching a pattern persist. They need to know it can be broken. And drop your testimony in the comments. Tell us what you have watched repeat in your family. Tell us what you are believing for. We read every one. The chain ends with someone. Let it end with you.
The year Kofi's daughter was born, he sat in the hospital, the same Korle Bu Hospital where he had been born, and he looked at her in that plastic cot. He did not say sorry. He said, "Welcome." The pattern stopped before you arrived.